Goodness. And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Wheel Talk. I was just saying to Brittany that I'm actually secretly a little bit grumpy, and then she said, "Yeah, me too."
We don't seem grumpy right now at all. We're like laughing and being very jovial, but
Yeah.
my morning has just been like, I didn't have breakfast. I forgot Jacob had an orthodontist appointment, so I woke up late, and then he has to do this shoveling thing because he got a job, so I had to drive him to do the shoveling because it snowed, and then I was waiting in the car, and then we were driving on crappy roads, and then I had to take Joe food because he forgot his lunch, and I just got back, and then my internet wasn't working.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, my
Today.
internet is being really dodgy, so if it cuts out, I'm really sorry. I can't do anything about it. I've like reset the router. I've tried stuff. I've got Starlink. It's cloudy. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but that was what was making me grumpy a little bit as well.
So yeah, it might be a kind of a live, but it's fine.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. Anyway, share some positive news with me, Brittany.
Well, last night I did the thing that I said I was going to do on the last podcast where I was singing at the Christmas party thing for Spinal Cord Injury Alberta, which is like a organization here for people mostly that are newly injured. And it was super fun. The people that were the musicians were amazing. I screwed up a little bit because obviously we only practiced once, but there was only like maybe 60 people there, maybe a little more than that, but it was pretty fun. And I think it's a little bit sad, like that these kinds of programs and events, nobody that is like a veteran, person in a wheelchair, they stop attending these events. And I think it's really sad because a lot of the people who need these services and organizations are newly injured people, and the first exposure they get to people are other people who need the organization a lot. And so it's not really a good example of what life with a disability can kind of look like. So I think sometimes they get like the wrong idea. And I didn't go to them for years because I was like, it was just uncomfortable for me. And now I always go. I always show up because, I think people need to be able to see far out, like, what does my life look like 20 years from now? And is it good or bad? So I try to show up, and I have a lot of friends that try to show up, but last night was a little dead. So it was fun. I had a lot of fun singing. But there was really only like 3 of my friends there. And luckily during the singing part, the staff of the organization, they were like pumped. They were like having so much fun. And I was having so much fun too, but like a lot of the rest of the crowd was just kind of like, wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
But
So remind me and everyone what last night was about, because for those of people that didn't tune in last week.
Totally. So I got asked to do the Spinal Cord Injury Alberta is like a service-based organization for people that are mostly newly injured with spinal cord injuries in the province that I live in. And it's a Canadian-wide organization, but there's like offices in each province. And so that sort of organization puts together a Christmas party, a summer barbecue, different peer events that they host. And so every Christmas they do one, like a holiday thing where there's like a buffet and just basically socializing. And then they celebrate sort of all of the wins that they've had throughout the year and all of the people that they've helped. And and I know a bunch of people that work there because I have friends that work in the organization that are in wheelchairs, and they were like, we need somebody to do the music. And they know that I like to sing. Whether I'm like a great singer is questionable, but they know that I like to sing and they know that I play guitar. So they asked me if I would do the music, and I wasn't comfortable playing guitar and singing because I thought I would for sure screw up. But luckily I know Ricardo, if anybody watches the show Push, Ricardo, the piano player that's my friend in that show, he has other friends that are professional musicians that do corporate events and things like of this nature. And he knows like a lot of songs. So there was a drummer and a piano player, and they can play like a bazillion songs. And so we picked 17 songs to play. Sorry, that was my phone going off. I'm going to turn that on silent. And then sorry, I don't want it to start ringing or something on you guys. No, it keeps going. Sorry. Okay. So now where was I talking? What was I talking about?
Oh, Brittany, come on. This is terrible.
I know, it's awful. Sorry. I was trying to be like undistracted by turning my phone off.
You were saying about your friend Ricardo who plays the piano.
Oh yeah. So he knows other professional musicians. And so I recruited them to play and I would sing alongside them. But yeah, so it was really fun. I really liked the music part of it. The musicians were amazing, and yeah, at least like 30% of the crowd was very engaged.
Oh,
Um,
good.
so yeah.
Yeah, that must be awkward when like only when there's like, well, if you say 30%, that leaves like 70% that were just wah wah, and you're like, oh well, never mind. But I guess that, I've been in a crowd before, and there's been musicians. I felt sorry for them because I'm like, well, yeah, I'm just not in the mood. You know what I mean? It's not your fault. You're
Yeah.
doing a great job. It's just I'm not really jovial today. So
Well, and like to be honest, I'm not really sure like what population Spinal Cord Injury Alberta currently serves, but there was like a lot of people with developmental disabilities there. It felt like there was like maybe like a group from an actual group home. So there were some people that, they, weren't verbal or anything like that. So they were just being helped by caregivers and stuff. So there was a lot of the crowd that was that, which I've never seen before. So I'm not sure if they like opened up their like their scope or widen their scope of services to include other disabilities, because there was definitely more disabilities there than just spinal cord injury.
Mhm.
And sometimes there's people other wheelchair users that are present at like these events because they kind of get lumped in with spinal cord injury, but there's definitely not usually like developmental disabilities there. So it was just a different vibe than other years, but still good.
Nice. And did you
Yeah.
nail all your lines? Did you nail all your chords? Did you make any mistakes?
I there was a few notes that I didn't hit, but yeah, it was mostly just me at first. I was like a little nervous at first, and then I hadn't warmed up my voice at all. So once I got into it, I was fine though.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That sounds good. And were the other musicians were pretty good on it, right?
Oh, they're professional, so they were amazing. Yeah, they were great. But you have some big news. Let's talk about going back to work.
Yeah, so I started back at work yesterday, which was fun. Actually, I was a little bit nervous about it. So last week I finished rehab and I had like a little bit of an emotional last day. I actually released a little video on my Patreon for those of you
Hmm.
that are on the Patreon, which not very many, but thank you very much for those of you that are. And yeah, it was just so I'll talk about that real quick. So leaving rehab was I had mixed feelings. Like even going back, I had mixed feelings because I felt like I was sort of. It was a place where I was previously very broken, and returning
Yeah.
there with like a lot of independence. A lot of people had seen a stark difference, because there were like 4 years where I was doing a lot of personal growth, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, look how different that guy is." And there was another guy there who had suffered a spinal cord injury, who I was trying to pass knowledge to. I didn't really know what to say to him apart from the obvious, like stay strong physically and
Yeah.
mentally. And we spoke about that in the last episode. I just want to just go back and say that I was like in the last episode. I said that I thought he was a bit too hesitant to try the floor transfer, but after seeing how he moves without his abs, I realize now that how much of like a superpower having like a strong core is
Yeah.
when you're in a wheelchair, and I take that for granted. I have taken that for granted. Strong arms, strong core. Life's easier really. So I was encouraging him to just, be as strong as possible, physically strong, and like that there is a really good life to be led after spinal cord injury. And I hoped that, he took that message on, but I was obviously communicating in broken French. So I think
Oh, are you gonna come back on?
hello, we're back in
You're
the room.
you're back. Yeah.
Oh God. So yeah, I'll just carry on saying what I was saying. Basically, I felt a lot of pressure to pass on some knowledge about being in a wheelchair, and it seemed to go well. Um, so yeah, and then this week I started work, which I was really nervous about. I don't know why, because it's been like sort of 9 months being away from the desk. But it's like muscle memory. I picked it up very quickly. I realized that I am a valuable member of the team, and there were some people that were new and they needed training. So I felt like it was good, even though I was nervous about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
Can you remind me what you do at that job again?
So I work. I answer the emails. I answer the phone. I take
Oh,
bookings. It's a company that provides transfers from the airport to Morzine because I live in a ski resort. So people are just like, "Hello, can I get a transfer?" And I'm like, "Yeah, where are you staying? What date are you traveling?" And normally it's just emails. So yeah, that's what I do. And like I said, I was a little bit nervous. And actually today I had to work from home. And I actually wanted to talk about that a little bit because there was a flood in the office
Oh.
due to like a toilet error. And due to this like plumbing malfunction, I got to work from home, and I realized because I actually thought, oh, wouldn't it be great like working from home? Like, wouldn't that be a great
Hmm.
job? And actually, when I was doing it from home, I was like, this sucks. Like, I really like being in the office. The office has an atmosphere. You like turn
Hmm.
up, and then you're like, oh, brilliant. You know, like I'm in a space where people are doing the same thing as me, and it's just congruent with with an atmosphere of like let's work. Whereas at home, I was just like, oh, this is really not the same at all. My enthusiasm waned quite a lot when I was working from home. So yeah, I'm quite happy to be working in an office with people, and like you know, the social
Yeah.
dynamics of working in an office is quite rewarding.
I also think that there's a lot to be said for like sort of the environment being having cues for productivity and things that you're supposed to be doing at a certain time. Like if you know that your shoes are beside your whatever front door, then you are going to go to the gym. Like setting up environmental cues in order to increase your level of success, I think is important. And as a person who like creates content from home, I have zero routine structure or any, setup that makes me successful whatsoever. So it's really, really hard. Sometimes I get very overwhelmed very easily. And I look around and I see other cues like, oh, there's a load of laundry that I need to do. Or I see cues for things that I should be doing as like a mom and, just somebody that takes care of the house. And so I think it like messes me up a lot. So if I could have a space where I could go and be like, that's what I'm going to do when I go without having to take my computer and my hard drives and all the junk that like, makes it a pain in the butt in order to set up somewhere else. I think it would be helpful. So
Hmm.
yeah, Joe hates working from home. Sometimes he has
Yeah,
to work from home. And the only reason he likes it is if he has to get something very specific done and he doesn't want people bugging him because he's the boss and he just gets like people knocking on his door all the time and he gets distracted like, easily. So if he works from home, it's like for a reason for like 4 hours and then he goes back to work because he hates being at home in
yeah,
a
yeah.
work sort of setting.
I can relate to that as well because when I'm at home, I spend a lot of time here. I'm a bit of a homebody, so there's a lot of distractions.
Mhm.
My like you say, the cues, the physical cues aren't set up for work. They're set up
Yeah.
for distraction, you know? So I'm like trying to work. And also, it didn't help that there were like hardly any emails, hardly any inquiries. It's like, then there were other people working from home. So as soon as like something pops up in the inbox, someone puts their name on it, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know. So yeah, it was just the level of work wasn't really there. And yeah, it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is the reason that like they add employees at like the busy time, is that why you only work a few like how 4 months out of the year or whatever?
Well, yeah, because it's a seasonal town.
Yeah,
No
that's what
one
I was,
like
yeah.
yeah, only people only come snowboarding in the when the lifts are running, you know. So
Oh,
yeah,
duh.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's a winter sport. Winter, yeah, you know, skiing is a winter
Yeah.
sport, and yeah, the transfers do run in the summer, but skiing's a lot more popular than snowboarding. So
Hmm.
sorry, mountain biking.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what? That was confusing. Okay, that makes more sense because I was thinking that it was just like, I don't know. But now that you clarified that it's actually to the like ski hill,
Yeah, yeah.
then it makes more sense. That's
I just
cool.
want to address one of the comments. Sonia said that she did try to send me some transfer tutorials in a comment last week, but YouTube swallowed it. And I really, yeah, if you try and put like a link in a YouTube comment, usually YouTube just hides it away. So I didn't see that.
Really?
Sorry, Sonia. Yeah, like unless you are the what do you call it? The OP, like the original poster. The if it's your channel, yeah, I've
Oh,
tried
because
posting
I
links in the comments before, and YouTube just like nah, because they think it's just scams. I think I don't know, but
which it is a lot. Like when I first started my channel, the amount of porn links that I got under my videos was astronomical. It was so I'm like, why? I'm like, why under my video? Like, why are you choosing mine? Do you
yeah,
think
yeah,
somebody that's like going to learn how to transfer in a wheelchair is gonna click on a porn site? I don't know. I was very confused about it. Maybe somebody can understand why they would post that under my video, but
I don't know, but I figure like, well, I come to terms with the fact that he's got to like be on his own journey, you know, and as I can do as much as I can do, but you know, I don't know everything. Like he
Yeah.
knows more about his injury than I do. Even though he's only been injured a year, he knows what he's capable of. And like seeing him physically struggle to lift himself up, I was like, oh, I see now why he was like really reluctant to get on the floor, because
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know. It's interesting because when you do something and you make it look easy, I want that to be inspirational for him, not
Hmm.
like the opposite. You know, like, oh,
Yeah.
geez, look, you know, like this guy can do it, I can't. I wanted it to be like, oh, look, I can do it, so can you. But there's like a
Yeah.
weird line where I don't really know. You know, I don't know. I was just trying to be as encouraging as
Yeah.
possible without like
And
being arrogant.
you have to, there has to be a balance there, because there's nothing worse. There are some people that will constantly push, like it's all mindset. It's like those people that are like, you just haven't tried hard enough not to be paralyzed. Like it's like those able-bodied people, right? And you don't want to be that person that's like a level up from somebody that has a worse injury than you. And you're like, you just haven't tried hard enough to get your abs back. Like, or you just haven't tried hard enough to transfer. Look, it's so easy for me. You don't want to be that jerk, but you also want to be the person that's encouraging, that's like, you know, this was really hard for me at first too, and I know it looks easy now, but I promise it takes a lot of practice and trial and error, and you probably you might not be able to get it like I have it, but you might be able to gain a level of independence that you never thought possible. And I think that's like the most important message, is that like whatever level of independence is possible for you, you should be striving to reach it. Because for years I didn't, and I always like made excuses about people's level of injury and all that stuff. And then I realized like you can do a lot without abs, and you can do a lot with, you know, just two strong arms and figuring out the physics of balance
Mm,
and, you know, your center of gravity and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think it's good to have pushed a little bit and then backed off when, you
yeah,
know, you don't want to discourage somebody ever. And if that's the feeling that they're getting, that you're getting, is that you're discouraging them, then it's, you know, you're being counterproductive, and you're probably just making somebody feel worse about themselves. And nobody ever does anything better by feeling worse. So
yeah.
yeah.
Although, like you said, you can be sort of shamed into
Yes.
progressing, but I think the difference is you've got to punch up, you know. So, like with me, like with like a lower injury and being like, oh, you can't do it. That's not the same. Whereas you got shamed by like a quadriplegic, and you were like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you know, if I had, you know, the finger
Yeah.
dexterity and strength, I'd be doing more. And you were like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should be doing more. And so sometimes
Yeah.
that can work in the right circumstance.
I do think that there is something to that. Like you have to be worse off than somebody, or at least have had the experience that they are experiencing at some time in your life, in order to be able to sort of like talk about it. Which is why I think
Mm,
sometimes my videos are so effective, because I was terrible for years. And then
yeah.
I can, if somebody's like saying, I'm having a really hard time, you know, getting back to, you know, my life after spinal cord injury, I'm like, yeah, me too. And you can
Yeah,
still do
yeah.
it. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. And you'll meet some people that they'll take that tough love and run with it, and other people will just not. I met a girl once that her mom was horrified that we were talking, me and my friends went to visit her, and we were talking about, like, in a funny way, having accidents. She was just like, why would you ever tell my daughter that she's going to have accidents for the rest of her life? You're just making her more depressed. And we're like, no, we're like trying to make her feel like it's okay, that she
Mm,
is going to probably have accidents for the rest of her life, and she can handle it. But she took
mm.
it like the opposite way. And now that individual is just chronically, like, you know, depressed. And so I think, you know, she is the person that will always look at how she has it worse than somebody else. And other people will do the opposite, even though they have, you know, probably more abilities than the other person. But yeah, you can't
Do
really
you
ever tell
think
anybody.
do you think that comes from like her desire to protect her from like a sort of mother, was it a mother you say?
It was her mom. Yeah,
Yeah, like to try to protect her from, you know, I guess like your mum was trying to protect you and stuff, and I guess
totally.
and that sort of like enabled you to be not as independent as you could be.
Yeah, and I think ultimately when parents try to protect their kids, it's a natural instinct. Like we all want to do that. But if there's something that your kid has to struggle through anyway, then I think the best thing to do is to allow them to know that they're strong enough to handle it, and that you know, they can do it, and it's not going to ruin their life, right? Because I think a
Mm,
lot of people try to protect, don't know, like make make it seem like this is, less bad, instead of being like, oh, it does really suck and you can handle it because you're strong and you're amazing. So I think like building the person up and allowing their confidence to thrive is more important than, actually saving them from the tough thing. But I get it. Like my dad, I still remember like when the neurosurgeon came in and like said directly to my face at like 14 years old, you're never going to walk again. Your spinal cord injury is damaged beyond repair. It is horrible. I've not seen many worse spinal cord injuries than yours. And my dad was just like, took him out in the hallway and was like, why would you ever talk to my daughter like that? And he was like, I loved him until he retired. Like he was such a great neurosurgeon. He just said like, I don't have time to, beat around the bush with people. And yeah, she might beat the odds, but the like likelihood of her ever walking again is probably 0. So I just thought maybe she should know that while she is here and I have the opportunity to be honest with her. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, like it sucked when someone said that to me because I've got an incomplete injury, and like we've spoken about this before, but there is a certain level of belief, and if a figure of authority shuts that down immediately, saying you're never going to walk again, that could be really powerful, and you could sort of give up. But I mean, at the same time, it's a really mixed bag because I also think, well, there's probably, they know, like, well, it might be an incomplete injury, buddy, but I did the operation and I've seen how bad it is, and good luck. If you think, you might be able to like get some movement back, but if you think that you're going to be out there snowboarding like in a year's time, it's going to be, walking's going to look a hell of a lot different if at all, So yeah, I think there's value in like saying it like it is. But then there's also, I don't know, like, again, do you squash every hope immediately? Like, do you just give up, say, well, there's no point in even doing rehab, mate, because you better get used to that chair. I don't know. I'm sort of torn.
I think there's a line. There is a line. There's for sure, and it's a delicate line between, this side is like false pessimism, where you're giving somebody false negative ideas about their life when you really have no idea if that's even going to happen. And then, the false hope on the other side, which is like, you could do anything. You probably will walk again. You don't want to give neither side is good. So I really do think it's like this line that you have to walk, being like, hey, what is the most realistic thing for me right now with my time, my resources, and what I want for my life? And if that's rehab and it's pouring all of my resources into walking again, and I have the resources and I have the time, great. But for people like me, like my family didn't have the time or the resources to pour into trying to get me to walk again. And so the thing that made most sense to me was, how do I live my life in a wheelchair the best way I can and still accomplish all the dreams that I wanted to accomplish from a sitting position, just because that's the reality of life. Like not everybody's going to have the resources to do the things that they want. Some people get cancer and don't have the money to do the treatment. And so the best thing for them is just making the most memories while they have the time available. And other people have the time, money, energy, everything to, cure their own cancer. And that's just life. So I think you just have to take a really realistic look at what things you have available to you and then make choices based on that.
Yeah, you make such a good point there, because I see people like on spinal cord injury Facebook pages that have posted like they've been like rehabbing for years and getting like the most minimal tiny movements back. Like, and I'm thinking on some level that's quite, applaudable. You're like, well done. But like at the same time, like your life is rehab. Like you're rehabbing every day for like the tiniest bit of like, and you're still, you're what you're walking doesn't really look like walking. It's not practical.
Yeah.
Like there's something to be said for those people, the tenacity of just, going for it. But there's also something to be said for acceptance and just being like, just get on with life, like,
yeah.
And just live your life from the wheelchair and achieve your dreams. But I guess, some people's dreams are the rehab and it gives them a lot of meaning to do that. But sometimes I see people and I don't know if it's impressive or just delusional.
I know. It's a really hard thing because like I said, if you have the money and you have the time and you by all means dive into it. And if walking really, I think that's why you have to examine sort of why am I walking? Why am I walking? Like I just met a person over the weekend. actually, it was right after our live. It wasn't on the weekend. It was right after our live last Tuesday. I went to an event in my local community for IDPD, International Day for Persons with Disabilities, and there was a woman there who had a spinal cord injury, but it wasn't bad, so she could still walk. So she had like deficits, like in her ability to walk long distances and stuff, but she was struggling with getting a wheelchair, and so she was like, she really was holding on to the walking like so hard, and it wasn't serving her anymore. It obviously, like, yes, get up, pull your pants up, shower, things like that, where she had the energy to do it and where it makes her life easier. But she was avoiding getting a mobility device because she just wanted to walk.
Mhm.
And I was like, a mobility device is freedom. You can go to the mall and just give her around, like, way better than just walking around and being tired and going home with all of your energy depleted. So I'm like,
Mm.
get a mobility device. Like, it's really not a thing that is taking anything away from your life at all. But for so many able-bodied people, or people who have what looks like able-bodied, abilities, the ability to stand up and walk for whatever distance, they just, like, they think it's a giving in or a giving up or whatever. And I'm like, you realize that you doing that is more hopeless than you adding something to your
Mm.
life that increases independence.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a weird mindset shift that we haven't really made in society yet, that like mobility device equals bad, walking equals good. And it doesn't matter whether I'm walking way slower and in more pain. If I'm walking, it's better.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Richard from Wheels to Walking was a good example of that. Like because
Yes.
he could walk pretty well actually towards the end of because he had like a lots of rehab and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could walk around his apartment. But he was just like, yeah, like why would I bother walking? It's actually very very painful for me to walk, and my mobility device, my wheelchair, allows me to boost around everywhere. I can put stuff on my lap.
Yeah.
And I can also got that kind of superpower to like walk around if I need to. But yeah, and I thought he was a really good advocate of using that as a, not being, I guess, not being ashamed to use a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I think some people in rehab, there's a couple of guys in rehab who have spinal injuries who walk. And one of the guys has stopped bringing his wheelchair to rehab, and he's doing brilliantly. Like, don't get me wrong, he is doing absolutely phenomenally. He's gone from like wheelchair like to standing to walking
Oh,
with
wow.
crutches to walking very short distance without crutches.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really good. But when I say walking, I mean snail's pace walking, like very,
Yeah.
very, very slow, like, like one tiny step in front of the other. And that is
Oh,
incredible. And it's the rehab center is the place to practice that. But realistically, unless you're gonna, well, I don't know. Like, I think I wish him the best. I really do hope he gets as much back as possible. But at the same time, I think using a wheelchair it would be a great combination with being able to
mhm.
walk. Because
Yeah.
if you get with the wheelchair skills, you'd be flying. You've got both, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and you're the kind of person that if you fall out of your wheelchair, it's no big deal. So the mobility device is actually like just increasing your independence like so much without any risk. Other
Yeah.
than, a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, if I stop walking often enough, my legs are going to atrophy, my abilities are going to go down. And that is like a reality for some people, because I have a friend who she could walk around pretty decently. But then she just started using a wheelchair full time at 19 because she was like, oh, it's so much easier. She had 4 kids. It was way harder to keep up with them not in her wheelchair, and then she almost lost the ability to walk. So now that her kids are older, she really has to like walk every day in order to maintain her ability to do it. So I think that, that might be a slight risk if you stop using your ability to walk and you stop doing that at all. But I think as long as you're, I have a friend, Danielle, like, she doesn't use her wheelchair in her house because she has enough to hang on
Mm,
to, and she walks around all day in her house. But if she leaves the house, she always uses her mobility device because it's just too tiring. And so I think if
mm,
you like make sort of compromises that way and just make little rules for yourself, that you're like, oh, I'm going to maintain my walking abilities because it's very helpful to be able to stand up and clean the fridge and reach stuff and do whatever. And I'm also going to use my mobility device to make my life easier and have more independence in these areas. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what I would do if I had the ability to walk, because it's not a choice for me. So
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a good question though. What would you do if you could have the ability to walk? What's the first thing you'd do?
I'm not really sure. Like I always think of like weird things. Like some things I miss, like crunching snow. Like when you step on snow and it makes that like crunch sound.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's so satisfying to me. Like things like that. Um, and like tobogganing, things like that, are just really hard in a wheelchair. Somebody could carry you up. I've gone like a couple of times, but it's just a pain in the butt to be piggybacked up. And then by the time you get up there, the person piggybacking you is like dead. It's like, and then it's like such a fast ride down, and then they have to piggyback you back to your wheelchair. So things like that. But I don't know. Like I would probably, if I just like had like 12 hours, I'd probably clean like the tops of my cupboards or something stupid like that. Like they're so dirty. I'm like, oh, I want to get up there and clean the things that I can't normally clean.
That's funny. I often think that, like, wouldn't it be really cool if you could just have an hour a day, just able-bodied, just 1 hour, just a little respite, you know? I feel like I would like to stretch. I would like to
Oh,
just
that's a good
bend
one.
down, you know, like it sounds silly, but just like just stretch and bend and like bend, like stand up and like try and touch my toes and just just have a good old, and then
Yeah.
yeah, just like it would be really cool. Go for a poo without sticking my finger up the bum. That would be nice,
I yeah, exactly. I know. That's like the stretch that you're talking about. I remember being like,
Mm,
12 and 13 right before I was hurt, and I would like go to sleep and I would wake up in the morning just long enough to like stretch out totally and then like roll over and go back to sleep, and I'm like, that's like bliss. And
yeah.
now my hips, like, they hate being on this side, and my legs are weird if I stay on my back, and like they spasm in the middle of the night. I'm just like, I just want to like sleep comfortably in one position for 12 hours, like when I was a kid.
Mm. What do you think about the electronic stimulators that they can put in your spine? I know that they're an off-the-shelf device that's used for nerve pain, but over in Lausanne, in
Oh,
Switzerland, they have
like the internal
uh,
ones?
yeah, and they can, I guess, boost or amplify the signals from the spinal
Yeah.
cord and sort of almost bridge the gap. There's a lot of people that have got a lot of movement back, like voluntary movement, small steps. I know there's a guy, quite a famous, well, famous-ish, not really famous, but like a guy who I've seen a lot, who did it over in Switzerland, which is very close to where I am, and he can walk with a walker for like quite a long distance, and then
Hmm.
when they turn off the power, like he can walk for a few steps and then it sort of stops. So it's kind of like a little electronic bridge. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've had any thoughts on that, because Chris, my girlfriend, saw that for the first time recently, and she was like, "Oh my god, you need to get on that." And I was like, "Oh, I know about that. Like I've seen that before." But what do you reckon?
I have a few friends that have the epidural stimulator thing, and it's actually worked really well for them. They haven't gotten the ability to walk or anything back, but a couple of the like male friends that I have that have it, they've gotten sexual function back, which is really important to them. So that's been life changing. And then just like bowel and bladder, increased
Mm,
like levels of sensation for bowel and bladder and abilities to actually like poop without, sticking your finger up your
mm,
butt. So I've had a few friends with that, and it's been pretty successful. Whether I would like, one of my friends actually did it in a trial, so it was totally free, which
mm.
is awesome. He just has to pay for like the trips down to the US when they do the like checking, but he doesn't mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think they're promising, especially for incomplete injuries,
Mm,
because there is still a level of communication between the nerves, and if you can just amplify a weak signal, I think it can be really effective for somebody like me. I don't really, my spine is so messed up because I have a syrinx too. So it's just like destroyed. Every time I go to like apply for like a study or something, like an FES study, then they find out I have a syrinx and they're like, oh, sorry. Like your
oh.
spinal cord is totally fucked. We can't help you.
Oh
So I'm
dear.
like, I just get like, axed out of everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
for an incomplete injury, I think it might be helpful. If you can find a study, I've had a
Yeah.
few friends, but you have lots of like, you seem to be fine in a lot of ways that people have gotten back. So I don't know whether it would
Yeah.
benefit you.
I mean, I am fine, but like anything, anything that would boost what I've got already would be amazing, right? Like even if I
Yeah.
could just stand up like a tiny bit, like so I could just
Yeah.
I don't know, like, or make a transfer easier, or any sort of bowel and bladder or
Yeah.
sexual function increase would be very welcome. And I think the epidural stimulator, it really is probably the most promising thing for spinal cord injury
Yeah.
at the moment, which isn't promoted that much, really.
I know.
I did see a. Sorry, it made me laughing because you sounded like Jordan Peterson. I know.
Oh my God.
But I saw a YouTube channel where people go to Thailand and they pay and they put the epidural stimulator in because it's an off the shelf thing, you know. It's a I love Thailand because you can go there and you
Yeah.
can get like the procedures that don't have all the regulations around them. So people have paid and they've got like loads of. It's a really fast. I'll have to. Well, you could probably Google it if you're listening. But the epidural stimulator. There's lots of examples of people going over there, having it put in, and then regaining lots of function, like standing and lots of functional movements. And I
Yeah.
think that is really cool. I think it's very, very promising. I definitely like to do it, but I guess it's not really, sounds really odd. But like Chris asked me about it, I was like, oh, it's not really at the top of my to-do list. When you think like with a spinal cord injury, that would be absolutely at the top of your to-do list. You're like, oh my God. But it's not. I don't know, you kind of just get used to your life, don't you? It's like, oh yeah, I use catheters, you know, I got a bowel program, you know, but anything that
Yeah.
would make my life considerably better should be sort of, I guess, higher up the list of like things that, you know, on your Christmas list. Maybe Santa can bring me an epidural stimulator for Christmas.
Yeah, you would think that would be higher up there, but like, yeah, like you say, you get used to your life. I do think that it's beneficial because I've seen personally, I don't know that many people, and the two people that I do know that do have it have had pretty good success with it. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I have another friend that went to Thailand for stem cell treatment, and he's had really good success with that too. But he was also an incomplete injury. But he has like almost normal bowel and bladder function. He can move his legs a little bit, but he's gotten a lot of function back from the stem cell treatment in Thailand. Super expensive, but
Yeah.
yeah, like it's one of those things that you like almost need to do it early on.
Mm.
And the longer you're paralyzed, the more scar tissue develops around the nerve endings and things. So I think if you can get it done fairly early on, then it's promising. But my one friend who has the epidural stimulator, he was paralyzed for I don't know, say like 5 or 6 years before he got it, and it's still really effective. So
I'd say I'm a little bit skeptical about the stem cells. I don't know why. I just feel like if I had the choice, I'd probably go the epidural stimulator
yeah,
over the
me
stem
too.
cells. But yeah, here Sonia says, but isn't the epidural stimulator a device that means rehab 24/7 your entire life? Looks like
No,
this on Instagram. I don't think it is. I think
no,
it's certainly something that will go along with a lot of rehab at the beginning.
at the
If
beginning,
you
yeah.
especially if you want to like use the epidural stimulator to regain function, I
Hmm.
think there's some sort of mapping, something clever that they do. But I don't think it's for life. No, I think it's I don't know, but yeah, there's lots of things that are quite hopeful. Like the Wings for Life, the Red Bull thing. They are looking for a cure for spinal cord injury. The thing is, the caveat I think they will find a cure for spinal cord injury, but I think that it's going to be when someone has a spinal cord injury, if they can get seen quick enough, then they
Yeah,
can fix it kind of straight away. But if you've had a spinal cord injury for like 20 years, I don't think there's going to be a miracle cure that's going to fix
no.
you. Unfortunately, I think there's just that's sort of beyond the realms of medical science. I don't know for sure, but it seems I'm skeptical of that.
Well, and I think a lot of the things that happen post injury, muscle atrophy, bone loss, just like contractures of your like joints and things. It's just there's a lot of like stuff that you would have to fix that happens after you are paralyzed if for a very long time.
Mm.
And I think like one of the like things that they're working on actively is one of the problems when you're first paralyzed is that scar tissue forms extremely quickly, like within hours on the damaged nerves, because it wants to halt the inflammation so that it doesn't damage more nerves further down. So your body does like this thing where it like almost like crusts up the ends of the nerves to stop them from killing the rest of the nerves. And at least any doctor that's sort of within the realm of like promising research, that's sort of what they're looking at for new injuries, is how to interrupt that process still reduce the inflammation, interrupt the scar tissue formation, and then help the nerves like refine each other and regenerate. But yeah, it's a whole ball of wax. And I think, like you say, it's going to be for sure a newly injured sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard a really good podcast recently. It was with Dr. Mike Israetel. I don't know if you heard of him, and Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom podcast. And they were talking about longevity. And at the end of the podcast, Dr. Mike, who's like quite a sort of down to earth guy, he had some insanely ambitious predictions for the future where AI was going to merge with medical science, and there's going to be some really insane breakthroughs. It was so incredibly optimistic. I was like fascinated. The way he was talking was so enthusiastic, and I thought, oh my goodness, if like 25% of that comes true, it will be in a very exciting time to be alive. So yeah, I can't really think of. So basically, he was like the cure for all diseases, pretty much all cause mortality could be solved with AI and medical science. And I was like, oh wow, that's incredible.
What?
Yeah, it was really wild. And he was like quite confident about it. And I was like, oh, that's incredible. So yeah, if you can manage, he said, like, if you can manage to stay alive till around about 2035, he said that's when there's going to be medical science is going to go through the roof, and maybe you could live forever.
This reminds me of a quote that I read in a book by a Dr. Gerson. He was like a cancer guy, and the Gerson therapy is like still used today to help cure cancer. And he said, cancer is easy to cure. The problem is that it's in people. And people suck. So I am optimistic about the ability of AI to merge with medical science to figure out breakthroughs, but I am not optimistic about anybody actually doing the things that they need to do in order to be cured. Because you can tell somebody what to do and people don't do it. You can tell somebody, if you drink that pop with aspartame, it's going to put literal deposits in your brain that are going to cause neurodegeneration. And they're like, gonna keep drinking the pop with aspartame though, because it tastes really good and I don't want that sugar. The sugar's really bad. I will forever remember my biochemistry teacher doing a whole lecture on aspartame and showing all of these studies on all of the like neurodegeneration because of the deposits that aspartame like leaves in your brain. And people still drink it all the time. So I'm optimistic about AI, less optimistic about the human race.
Possibly, but when it comes to that, doesn't the dose equal the poison? I remember thinking.
It does. Totally.
Because I don't drink fizzy drinks at all. I would advise people just to steer clear of all of them. But isn't it arguable that like the drinks without lots of calories, because sugar's really bad for you, right? And I would like to move the topic onto diet actually, because I've got some stuff to add to that. But like you've got the choice between
you froze. Choice between aspartame, chemicals, or poison. So much sugar. Is he gonna come back? Okay, well, I'm gonna. Oh, I can hear you now.
I'm back in the room. Sorry, mate. I don't know where it cut out, but basically, I was saying
you said the choice. The choice between is what you said.
The choice between sugary drinks or 0-calorie drinks. One is they're both bad for you, but like it's arguable that that one is better than the other. But I guess they're.
My answer to this question, and I've gotten it a lot from my kids and other people, is always this: if the dose makes the poison, choose the natural alternative. So if you're going to choose one thing that's bad for you, choose the thing that's been around since the dawn of time and that humans have been eating forever. Just don't eat a lot of it. So if you're going to eat sugar, have it, but eat the real sugar, because your body knows what to do with it. If you eat a bunch of sugar, more than your body can handle, then you get diabetes. But if you're not drinking like sugar drinks all the time, don't worry about the sugar that's in the drink. Just have it with a meal, eat it with fat, fiber, and protein, and you'll be fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did want to actually transition into a conversation about diet. I saw this picture recently online, and it was a friend who I used to be friends with like 10 years ago, and he had this transformation. It looks absolutely wild. Can you see that?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
I was not expecting that transformation.
Wild, right? So that was only in 17 weeks. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That is like not a long. So anyway, I sent him a message, and and we reconnected. I just said, "Oh, hey, man, by the way, that is a wild transformation." I was like, "Bravo!" I like you must have been right on your nutrition because like I've been also tracking my calories, tracking my macros, and I know what you've well, I
Yeah.
imagine what you've done to achieve that. And then yeah, we sparked up a dialogue. We hadn't spoken to each other in like 10 years, and it was really nice. And he was like, "Oh man, thanks so much for sending that message. It meant the world to me. It really put a smile on my face." And he said that in fact, like to get to that stage, it was like for a photo shoot. So he like did a lot of like dehydrating himself just for
Yeah.
that, and he got like a fake tan as well for that photo shoot. But he's like, it's very unsustainable to be that slender, to be
Lean.
that ripped, to be that shredded. He said it's probably, I don't know, I'd say like between like 8 and 10% body fat, which is incredibly impressive. But you can't really walk around like that. Like your
No.
energy levels are low, your hormone levels are low. Like that's sort of like what bodybuilders walk on stage at, you know, and that they just do that for the show. So he said, yeah, it was a wild transformation. He's very happy. He's like really good. It's really good that he's in the habit of like tracking his food and like weighing his portions out. And he's very healthy. But he's like, that was just for a photo shoot. He's like, you know, I don't really walk around like that. And I was like, oh, because I was like, I can imagine that's wildly unsustainable to be like that, you know, ripped.
Yeah. I think that like is like a bigger conversation about like what we think is healthy from what we see and what is actually healthy from what people like their actual like numbers and their blood work and all of that stuff. Because there's a lot of people that are walking around so unhealthy. One of the girls that I follow on Instagram, her name is the Birds Papaya, and she is a body positivity influencer, and she lost 100 pounds, and she got so skinny that she lost the feeling in her legs. Like her body was going into I can't remember what it's called, but it was like a stress response where her nerves like stopped working properly because she had stopped eating fat entirely. Like she was so skinny, and then she gained probably like 40 pounds back and is like a normal size for a woman now. And she gets a lot of like flack about her flabby stomach and all that stuff, but she's healthy and she doesn't care about what, you know, it looks like in pictures or on paper, because she's just like, she looks, I guess in pictures, she cares what it looks like on paper. But, and I think that's like an important distinction to be made, because we think lean is extremely healthy. And if you actually look at the studies, I was looking at this when I was researching outcomes with spinal cord injury and the different, metabolic like factors that contribute to disease with spinal cord injury. And I found this study that was backed up by a lot of other studies that basically said that if you are slightly overweight, so there's a normal weight and you're just slightly overweight by like, are you, you're frozen, you're back.
No, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah, if you're slightly overweight, you actually live longer than if you're a normal weight. But you can't be like, there's like a level of where you like start to get to obese. But if you're just like slightly over where you should be, you know, medically, you live longer because you have your hormones are better, you have more cholesterol, it stops your brain from getting Alzheimer's and all these things. So yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, that's weird, because that's sort of the conversation I was referencing earlier with the longevity podcast with Mike Israetel. He was saying that one of the main factors, like with more, what he said, there was morbidity and what did he say? He said there's a real difference between living to 90 and living to 90, like being very healthy. Like you keep someone alive, really.
Exactly.
Up until...
Yeah, you can keep somebody alive, but you can't, they're not healthy. And that's how so many of our people are in society now. They're living a quantity of life, not a quality of life. You're frozen.
Oh, I think, are we back in the room?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry, it's the bloody Starlink. Yeah, he was basically just saying you can keep people alive till 90, but then there's different. You can be a healthy 90-year-old or like life not worth living 90-year-old. I kind of lost my train of thought since the internet cut out. What was I saying? About and he said one of the biggest factors, one of the biggest factors of getting there is your body weight. He's like, so many people are overweight. He's like, one of the, it doesn't matter like it does matter what you eat, but what's way more important is your body mass index. If you are a healthy weight, no matter what your diet is, that is one of the main contributing factors to like living a healthy life, is to stay a healthy weight. I think I would just, this is what I was going to say earlier. If you don't mind, I wanted to jump into something that happened to me at poker. so as you guys know, or as you know, I've been chatting about like tracking my macros for like
Yeah.
157 days now. So like I've got like a streak on the app, and I've lost like 6 kilos, and I feel like pretty good about myself. And so when I'm at poker, all the guys, they just eat pizza, they drink beer, they eat crisps, they eat Haribo, they don't even think about it. And I always like, I'm just like, no, no thanks, no thanks. And then someone brought out some Ferrero Rocher, and I was like, oh, I don't know. So, and I looked it up on the app, and I was like, oh, it's only 75 calories. I can afford that. I'll go for one. And I was like, oh, can you believe it's only 75 calories? And one of my friends said, how do you know that? Is it written on the wrapper? Like, it must be written quite small. And I was like, no, I looked it up on the app. And then because I don't really talk to my poker friends about
Yeah.
it. But I said, oh, I've been tracking my calories and my macros for like over 150 days now. And I got such a mixed response. I got my friend Liam, he was just like, what are you doing that for? And I was like, well, because I want to be healthy. I've lost 6 kilos. And he's like, what? So you put everything that you eat in the app? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, mate, what? That sounds like way too hard work. I was like, not really, because like I have a lot of the same meals. Like, for example, I have the same breakfast every day. And he was like,
Yeah.
you have the same breakfast every day? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I couldn't really believe his disbelief. And he was like, that sounds shit, man. Like, and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone. This guy is like, he's a plasterer. He's quite sort of naturally lean. And he just thought like what I was saying was, he was like, I can't believe you do that. Like, why would
Yeah.
you, that sounds like such an overkill. And I was like, well, I just got into the habit of doing it. Like Chris does it as well. We do it together. And, it just becomes my new normal. And it means I can track. And I've got like a big record of everything I've eaten for the last 150 days and how many calories I've consumed. And that's why I'm in good shape. And he was like, oh, fucking hell. He was just so weird. And then one of the other guys at poker, he was like, man, that's amazing. I can't believe you've done that. That's so impressive. And, yeah, it's just so interesting when you see. I mean, I do realize that does sound quite extreme to some people because, like, not a lot of people do it, and I didn't do it, for my whole life until 150 days ago. So it is really. But once you start doing it, you're like, oh my god, you kind of like get this whole. It's just mindful eating. Whereas the
Yeah.
guys at poker, they're like chopping up like chorizo, banging it on the pizza, and they're just like, I would call that mindless eating because you're just like consuming loads of calories. Like pizza's quite unhealthy anyway, and then they're like chucking loads of extra like fatty meat on it, and I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, you guys got no idea how much you're consuming and how hard that is to burn off.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are in average shape. But yeah, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. I just thought I'd bring that up because for a lot of people it is very, very foreign. And
Yeah. I think
the
I think for 99% of the population, they don't even know what macros are. People don't
yeah.
even know what a what are carbohydrates. Is there a carbohydrate in a potato or in, a steak? People don't know. And I was one of those people like years and years ago had no idea. Like I was like, what's a macro? And
Mm,
it's funny because like I went to university and I have a degree that's like major in chemistry, minor in biology, and we learned about like macronutrients, but nobody ever like related it to like nutrition and stuff. Like it was so weird. And so I think people just don't learn enough about it and they don't care. Like they don't care what they're eating because it tastes good, which I always like tell my kids that is a soup of chemicals. And if you're going to eat it, you at least need to be mindful of the fact that you're eating it. I had the rest of Jamie's McDonald's fries yesterday. They're friggin' terrible. And I mindfully ate the junk that was like, 10 fries or whatever. But when I eat something, I'm mindful of what I'm eating. And I think tracking calories, especially, is a way to build in mindfulness into your like eating habits, because you don't have to track forever, but when you know that this much of a whatever probably has about this much calories in it and this much fat and this much whatever, then you can make better choices, right? And
Mhm.
so like even with like mini chocolate bars and stuff, I always tell my kids like 3 mini chocolate bars is one big chocolate bar.
Mm.
And I equate their like treats, if they're having something, to like a chocolate bar. Would you sit down and eat 3 actually big chocolate bars? Probably not, but you'll sit there and mow down like 15 mini chocolate bars, and that's the same thing. So just being mindful of it. But I think it's amazing that you go into settings where there is temptation and you have the resolve to just be like, nah, I'm good, because I suck at that.
Yeah, well, sometimes I'll bring like a chicken, rice, and broccoli with me, and I'm just like, and I'm like eating my meal, And it's, yeah, I guess my friends, like, they haven't really noticed really. Well, they've noticed that I've got in some good shape, but like they haven't, like
Mhm.
they don't, oh, why aren't you eating the pizza? Like, oh, I just brought my own dinner, and it's just like a really healthy dinner. But it's kind of, yeah, it's interesting, like just how, again, like I say, 150 days ago, I this was completely foreign to me as well. So it's so weird, and I sometimes ask myself, like, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Like, when am I going to stop doing it?
Mhm.
Like, I will probably keep weighing my food, like, because like I've mentioned on the podcast before, like 100 grams of rice and 50 grams of rice look very
Very
similar, but obviously
similar.
one's double. So it's really hard to say without the scales. And I think it's really important, again, like if you've got a spinal cord injury and you want to stay a healthy weight, like so many people struggle with their weight with a spinal cord injury, and just weighing your food and just doing it for, like a month, just being able to see the portion size, especially if you put 100 grams of rice on a plate, like it's so easy to like chow that down like mindlessly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have 50 grams of rice, you're like, oh, that's actually, I'm completely full. That's fine. Like it doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's so much to nutrition, but having the ability to educate yourself on nutrition and finding something that works for you is extremely important. There's somebody in the comments talking about the carnivore diet, which I'm sort of experimenting with to a certain degree. It's more like meat and fruit, and then like non-starchy green vegetables, and I still eat vegetables when I feel like it. But there are some people that thrive on that kind of a diet extremely well. And then other people tank if they don't have carbohydrates and it's horrible for them.
Mm.
Some people can do a vegan diet and be very healthy. I have a friend who's a vegan and she has beautiful skin. She's thin. She's no digestive issues, loves it. It's wonderful for her. And then I have another friend that I tried going like vegetarian, vegan. I got rosacea like right away. Like my skin was just like, you suck. My naturopath's like, something's wrong with your cells. They look like wrinkly. You need to eat more fat. Like it was horrible. So my body much prefers fat than carbohydrates. And I'm more satiated. I feel more satisfied when I eat fat, not even meat. Like I'm more like, I just want the fat. And so, yeah, everybody's different. But if you have no knowledge, you don't have a starting point because you can just do things that are not helpful all day long, and until you start tracking things and paying attention, you don't build an awareness into your eating habits, and awareness is the first step to changing anything, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So on the subject of the carnivore diet, I follow this guy on YouTube. It's a channel called Digital Asset News, and he's just a
Mhm.
guy called Rob, and he talks about Bitcoin. And he said that when, like, it's been like this long running joke kind of thing, like when Bitcoin hits 100K, he was going to jump in his swimming pool because he like live streams and he's got a swimming pool in the
Yeah.
background. Anyway, he jumped in the swimming pool recently, and then he got out the pool and he is fucking ripped. And I was like, holy shit, dude! Like, I had no idea that this guy was ripped, and yeah, and so after that he got loads of comments just saying, Rob, how are you in such good shape, man? But and he was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't really want to bring this up, but seeing as I've got so many comments on it, he's like, I'm on the carnivore diet and I just work out doing calisthenics work every day, and it doesn't
Calisthenics
take
is
much,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. And he was just like, yeah, and this is it. And then he had like this channel that was like hidden, and he was like, yeah, if you really want to know, I've got like this fitness channel as well, which I never mentioned. And I went on it and I was like, oh my god, I saw some other pictures of him and he is absolutely ripped. He's like in his 50s and he's got a proper six pack. He must be like about 12% body fat. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, dude, that is
Yeah.
insanely impressive. And yeah, no one knew until he jumped in his pool.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to. I just want to pull up this comment for a second. I've been on the carnivore diet for over a year. I no longer have pot belly, and I just had my blood work done, and everything is excellent. So Greg is in a wheelchair, and my neighbor did the carnivore diet. He was extremely unhealthy, and he is so healthy now. So I've seen people that it's worked extremely well for. And I think it's like a pushback. The carnivore diet is huge right now, especially if you kind of follow anything, it's all over the place. And I think it's like a pushback to the vegan thing where everybody was like pushing down your throat that like plants are the most healthy thing on the planet. And for a lot of people, they're not. Like my brother had Crohn's disease and he cured his Crohn's disease by strategically removing certain plants that have fibers and starches that are very hard to digest and that cause inflammation in your intestine. And he ate a lot of fat, and his doctors have done MRIs and stuff like that. And now he can eat basically whatever he wants. So he's back to fruits, vegetables, meat, and sort of a balanced diet. But he had to take all that stuff away in order to heal. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that just don't want to believe that the red meat that we've all been like told is really terrible for us is actually really healthy for some people. And I've been tracking because when I read about the carnivore diet, the thing that worries me is the ability of your body to buffer acids, because you need a lot of calcium, magnesium, and potassium in order to buffer acids in your blood in order to keep your pH stable. And I know that like the whole pH thing, it's a myth. Your body can buffer it, but you need the minerals in order to buffer it. And if you don't eat a balanced diet, sometimes those minerals are hard to come by. So I was worried about that. But I've been eating less vegetables, and I've been checking my pH of my urine. And the more vegetables I eat, the more acidic my urine becomes. So just because you hear something doesn't mean that it's necessarily true for you. And the mineral balance that I'm finding is actually worse when I fill up on a crap ton of vegetables. So it's a really interesting thing. And I always tell people, you are an experiment of one. Do the stuff on yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what's the right diet, wrong diet, whatever. Unless you try it, you have no idea. I tried going vegetarian, was horrible for my body. The more meat and fat I eat, the better my body seems to do. I probably will never get rid of vegetables because I like vegetables. I like pesto. I like fruit. So I'm not going to be one of those people. I think going too extreme is bad on either end. But anyway, I just wanted to comment on that because I know a lot of people that, have had problems with plant fibers. And I know a lot of people that have been successful with the carnivore diet, but yeah.
You check the pH of your wee? How do you do that?
You just buy strips. You just buy like pH strips, and they just dip it. Every morning I dip it in my pee because I collect it in a container by my bed because I pee. And it's a good way to check the alkalinity of your body. So I do that just to see. And
wild. That's crazy. You do some crazy stuff. I saw your video recently about the garlic and the I've seen you do that before actually. But it's wild the lengths that you go to avoid urine infections. And there's me who I use catheters like twice, you know, like if it's only half full, I'll use it again. And like I never, wash it or anything. And I just, whip it in there. And it's so crazy how like the lengths that you go to. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm sort of got a very natural resistance to it. And then
I also
checking
think
like the pH of your wee and stuff. It's like, it's crazy.
It's different for girls though, because girls, like this is getting very anatomical, but like our pee hole and our butthole are really close together. So we fight bacteria a lot, like more than guys do. And I have no choice but to touch the catheter where the catheter is going in and my pee hole because I'm guiding it in with my fingers because I'm not looking at it. Whereas a guy, you can, grab your wiener and grab the thing and not touch either end. And so even if you do use it twice, there's a lot less bacteria on it than would get on my catheter just using it once. So yes, there's definitely like things to be said about like the hygienic aspect of cathing for men and women. And it is a little bit of an obsession for me. I'm not going to lie. I get like weird obsessions because for years I didn't do any of that stuff. I just drank however much I wanted. I ate garlic for like a year and then I stopped getting UTIs. And now it's just, I'm like, I don't want to get them. And so I do crazy shit and obsess over it. But yeah, it's sometimes exhausting. So no, people don't have to go crazy like me, but I also don't want to get UTIs because I literally pee every 3 minutes, pee my pants if I get a UTI. Like it's horrible.
That sucks. Yeah. I think
Can't go anywhere.
I think I've mentioned this before, but I genuinely feel like I do get mild infections, but then I just wee a lot. But I don't wee myself. I just like, oh shit, like I just need like 3 wees in an hour, and they come out like really, really clear, and I'm like, I don't think I drank that much water. So I think I have like a natural flushing system, which is bloody fortunate, really. I don't know if that's true or not. If I'm just making it up, but like sometimes, I just wee an insane amount for no reason, and then I'm like, oh, and then I guess it's just a natural flush.
Yeah, like I said, for me, it's just I got too my thing like went sideways when I got, which it's not even that close together, but like I got UTIs like sort of back to back, which I would consider 8 months from my last one to the next one back to back, because I don't usually get them that often. And so I was just like, so now I'm kind of on a weird obsessive thing. I'm just gonna address this comment for a sec. Hi, does anyone care about eating higher welfare meat, or are you happy to eat any meat? Just wondering. So for me personally, I do care about the animal welfare to a great degree. I will buy grocery store meat, like if I have to, but I generally buy meat from a local farmer that I know. And I care about chickens that I'm eating eggs from being happy, because I don't want to eat a stressed out, cortisol filled egg, or all that stuff. Some people think that doesn't matter, and if you actually look at the nutrient profile, it's pretty similar between a really stressed out animal and a really not stressed out animal. But I care about how animals are treated, and I don't want to eat like shitty meat, so I do care about that. But I don't know about anybody else.
Me, not so much. I just buy. Yeah, no, I don't ever really think about that. So yeah.
European standards are drastically different than North American, though. The standards for animal welfare are way different. I don't even think you can buy bad meat in Europe, like compared to Canada and the US. Our farming practices are pretty abysmal. And the amount of chemicals that they allow into our food supply here, it's crazy. Like if you just do some research on European standards versus North American, and it's crazy. You guys have drastically different food supplies than we do.
Yeah. I just want to address this comment from James. Will there be podcasts on both the 17th and the 24th? I may skip the 24th, as that is my birthday. Well, James, I thought you'd like to spend your birthday with us,
Yeah.
You're always, you bloody love us. You're always on it. You love Brittany. No, I don't know. I actually need to keep you guys updated. I actually don't think I can do next Tuesday. I think we're going to have to do next Monday, which might be better, because then we can do the 16th and the 23rd, because I have started work now and I will be working Tuesday evenings, I believe. I'm going to have to confirm that. But yeah, I think it'll be next Monday instead of next Tuesday, but we will let you guys know.
Yeah, that next Monday would work for me too. So that's good. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. You can keep me posted.
Moving forward, it will be Monday instead of Tuesday, because I'll be working Tuesdays evenings.
Oh, okay. So like we're just going to switch the day. Okay.
Yeah, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that would be fine with me.
Cool.
Mondays are usually less busy than Tuesdays, so.
Nice. So last week you told me to practice a song on the guitar, but I didn't do it.
Well, you suck. Just kidding.
But instead, I thought instead of playing a song, I would show you a magic trick, because I said I did magic.
Okay, let's do that.
You want to try that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try. Let me see if this works. Right. You can see that there's 3 cards here. Have you ever played 3-card Monty? So the idea is to keep your eye on the red ace. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the cards a good old shuffle up. And you can see your job is to keep your eye on the red ace, okay?
Okay.
You ready? So we're going to put the 1 card down there.
Yeah.
1 card down there, and 1 card down there.
Except you froze. You froze though.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, so I don't know where you put the cards down.
Oh, that's such a shame. Do you want to guess anyway?
Okay, I'm going to say in the middle.
Okay, in the middle. No, it's the 3. It was actually there.
Oh.
But okay, listen, we're gonna try again. Okay, so hopefully it won't freeze this time.
Okay.
Okay, so are you ready? Keep your eye on the ace.
Yes.
Are you ready? Okay, look, we're gonna put down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now where's the ace?
In the middle.
Are you sure?
That's where I think my eye was on. What?
No. The ace is actually there.
Oh, I should have known that, because we just did that, but I was keeping my eye on it. What did you do?
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
So now, look, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance. Are you ready? Look, I'm going to put the 3 down. I'm going to put the 3 over there. And now there's just 2 cards to choose from. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Now, where's the ace?
On the left.
This one?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Or like on my left. Yeah, that one.
Okay, so it's not there and it's not there because actually the ace was there.
What? Oh my god! I don't know how you just did that. That was a cool
There you
card
go. That's
trick.
3-card Monty.
Okay, that was really cool.
Do you like that?
I was like keeping my eye on it.
Nice. I'm
Ah,
really glad you enjoyed that.
That was confusing. Yeah, see, everybody's saying you fooled them too. That was cool. Probably
Brilliant.
better than a song on the guitar. So yeah, that was
Well,
really neat.
like I said, I'm actually like a little bit shy about my magic. Like Chris is always encouraging me. She's like, "Wow, do some magic, do some magic," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't really like to do it because I get really nervous doing it because obviously it involves sleight of hand and stuff, and if you mess up, you look like a knob. But when you nail it, it's kind of cool. But like, I think, yeah, like magic is, I don't know. I really, really enjoy performing it, but I'm very, very shy at doing it. It like makes me quite nervous. But I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that like you just have to do it with confidence, and even if you mess up, it's whatever. But that was cool. I thought that was neat.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Oh, I'm really glad you liked it.
Okay, well, we are at slightly over our time. So, shall we sign off?
Let's sign off. Yeah, sorry about the bad connection. And I don't know. I think if you're going to listen to this on Spotify after the live stream, you're going to have to imagine what that imagine what the card trick looked like. Although there is video available on Spotify, but if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or whatever, yeah, you just have to take my word for it.
It was amazing. Take my word for it. I did the best magic trick ever.
I think it would be a lot better than my guitar rendition of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I don't know about that because you seem pretty talented at all the other creative things that you do. So
it's so weird. Even though that magic trick went well, I can feel my heart beating faster. I don't know what every time I perform magic, I get really bloody nervous. I don't know what it is. Like I really need to get over that. Because like
I think I just had an idea for your Patreon. Sorry, this just like was you should post like a picture of all of your Christmas cards that you did because they're very cute. And that could be something that you can like show on your Patreon. So do that, just like a post. You don't have to make a video, just make a post. Yeah, like you're such a good drawer. You should make cards and sell them.
Yeah, I tried. Like, no, they weren't very popular.
Really? Well,
I tried once before.
When you had a platform, or like, because they're
yeah,
so
I did. I was trying to give them. I gave them away actually at one point. A couple of years back, I made a video and I was like, oh, if you want, you can design. It was like on a link of like buy me a coffee, and you could go to that link and you could just download it for free. It was just like you could print them off. Like there was snowman designs with all different things. You could just print them off for free. So in fact, I think, give me 2 seconds. I think that it might actually still be.
Put the link right in this thingy.
I think it might still be live.
Because they're very cute.
Okay, I won't do it right now. But there is, I believe the link is still live if you want to download some free Christmas card designs. You just have to print them off.
Yeah, so that's really cute. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we will see you guys next Monday. Monday, right? Monday?
Next Monday, yeah. That'd be great. All right. See you later, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And I actually feel in such a better mood now. I was so grumpy before, but now I feel loads better. Thank you so much.
Me too. I feel good now.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh, dear.
Uh-oh.